Okay, here is our quiz review part 2. So we are on the back side of the paper that looks like this: Translations, Reflections, and Rotations Quiz Review. And we're going to start actually at the bottom first. So in the bottom, number 7, there's a space for vocabulary, and I'll zoom that in. So some of the vocabulary that you're going to want for this quiz are translation, reflection, rotation, and sequence of transformations. So remember that a translation is a slide, a reflection is a flip, and a rotation is a turn. And a sequence of transformations is 2 or more of any of these that are up here, okay? And so these are all considered transformations. And when we have a sequence, we have at least 2 of any of these up here. Okay, so if you need to, pause the video here and get those definitions down. They will help us for the remainder of the quiz. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to number 4. So number 4 is write the rule for the transformation. Something that should have been done is labels on these. I just labeled them A through H and then A prime through H prime. You can do that as well. All right, so what we're looking at here is from the first figure. We know this is the first one because there are no prime signs. To get to the second figure, what had to happen? So does it appear as though we slide this figure, as though we flipped the figure, or as though we turned the figure? And you can see that because of the labels here, it must have been a slide. So the slide means that the rule is going to start with the vocabulary word translation. We know it's a translation. And then we have to tell how far, okay? And so to get from A, right here, this first point, to A prime, that's all we really need to look at. So we know our translation from A to A prime, first going left or right, we can clearly see that we are going right, and we got to count how far. So 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces right would get me on that same line. So 4 units. And then we're still not there yet. We would land right here. So we then have to go, then we have to travel down. And so down, how many units? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Okay, and although this is correct in words, we really want to have this in mathematical notation. So what we would say is translation, and then we would write it like this. X comes first, and right means plus 4 units, and Y comes second, and that's going down, so we're going to say minus 5. That's how we would write that in mathematical notation. This top one is in words. The bottom one is math notation. Okay, although technically both are correct, we want the mathematical notation for this quiz. Okay, the next one, write the rule for this transformation. So the transformation's already been done. So our choice is this a translation, reflection, or rotation, or is it a sequence? So we're taking a look. Here is point K, and here is point K prime already labeled, and we can see that this figure is in fact flipped. So since it's flipped, we know that our first word here is going to be reflection. Okay, and so not only do we have to identify that it is a reflection, we need to identify over what line is it. So it's easiest to draw the line in first and then identify it. So this is our line of reflection because it is making everything equidistant from it. So K is 2 to the left and K prime is 2 to the right. Everything's equal. So we need to say our reflection is over, and now we need to figure out which line that is. So we check, is this the x-axis or the y-axis exactly? No, it's not. So we're back to our little rhyme. X stands like T-Rex, Y lies on its side. So this is standing like T-Rex, so we know it's going to be X is equaling. And now we have to figure out the number. Remember, this is the point 0, 0, and I'm going left to get there, so I know it's going to be negative 1, 2, 3. So negative 3 is the line in which we're reflecting over. This is the rule for the number 5. Reflection over x equal negative 3. Okay, last but not least for this quiz review, reflect the figure across the line x equal negative 2 and then translate it 3 units up. So this right here, since there are 2 parts to this, this is a sequence. Okay, so that means we are going to have 2 parts to it. We're going to start with reflecting the figure across the line x equal negative 2. Okay, so we have to identify that line. It doesn't say x or y axis, but it does say x, so we know it's going to stand like T-Rex. Where is x negative 2? That means 1, 2 to the left. That's right here. So I'm going to make my line stand up and down. So this is the first thing I'm going to do is reflect it over that purple line. So I'll start with x. X is 1 to the right, so I'm going to reflect it 1 to the left and label it x prime. Then I'm going to move to b. B is 2 to the left, so I'm going to reflect it 2 to the right, make that b prime. And then finally, n is 3 to the left of my line of reflection, so I'm going to reflect it 3 to the right, n prime. Then I'm going to go ahead and reconnect. So this is the first part of my sequence done. Okay, so that's only part 1. In a sequence, there's more than one part. So the next part is then to translate it 3 units up. So now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take my purple one and I'm going to move it. So starting with x prime, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to label that x double prime because that's the second part of my sequence. B prime, 1, 2, 3, up. B double prime. And finally, n prime, 1, 2, 3 units up. Here's n double prime. I'm going to reconnect that figure. And now I have completed my sequence. And that is it for our quiz review. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great rest of your day.